let's play a little game today, shall we? Which of the current Montreal Canadiens players will suit up to represent their country at the 2026 Olympics? No matter what the sport is, just about every athlete entertains dreams of winning gold for their country at the Olympics someday. And during the All-Star festivities in Toronto last week, Gary Bettman made a lot of NHLers very happy when he announced that the NHL would return to allowing its players to participate in the Winter Olympics starting in 2026 when the games go to Milan. This is something guys like Connor McDavid have been advocating for years, that they want that best on best hockey competition. It's just an opportunity to compete for your country, represent your country at the highest level of the sport in international play, and a lot of players are truly excited about the potential. So, of course, that begs the question and the wheels spinning of which Habs players should start brushing up on their Italian. And I know you're thinking, Habs, Italian, it's got to be Michael Pezzetto, right? Sorry, Pez, probably not this time. So today I'm going to give you 3 current Habs players who I feel could be selected to represent their respective country in 2026. Okay, and I'll throw a wild card in there too. You probably have some thoughts on this as well, so if you think there's a player who's going to represent their country who's currently on the Habs roster, well, just leave me a comment down below. When it comes to the Montreal Canadiens and their current roster, Team Canada is going to be a bit of a tougher guess, so we're going to save that selection for just a minute. Let's instead first start with Team USA. I would say that Cole Caulfield probably has a pretty good shot at Team USA selecting him to participate in Milan's 2026 Winter Olympics. No, he's not having the year that everyone thought and hoped he might have as far as his numbers go, particularly after we saw what he did in the first half of the season last year before he went out with his surgery. But he's starting to pick up the pace a little bit, and while 5-on-5 scoring still hasn't been ideal when it comes to Caulfield, his power play prowess certainly can't be denied. And when you look at left wingers available for the Team USA in terms of the current roster, Cole Caulfield is certainly one who could come under consideration. And if he continues to have a strong second half of this season, and particularly if he breaks out in his 2024-25 season, then we could definitely see Cole Caulfield on Team USA's Olympic roster. Number 2 for me has to be Team Slovakia, Juraj Slafkovský. We remember when Slafkovský was drafted, it was a big night for Slovakia because you saw Juraj Slafkovský go first overall, Simon Nemec go second overall, and then, of course, Filip Mesar was also drafted by the Canadiens in the first round. I'm not sure that Filip Mesar will make the Olympic team in 2026. Simon Nemec probably has a decent shot, and I think Juraj Slafkovský does as well. Again, Slafkovsky's development hasn't come along as quickly as I think a lot of fans would have liked it to, but he is slowly but surely showing some signs of growth. And you'll recall that the reason that he was really on everyone's radar going into that year's draft when he was selected was his impactful play in international hockey. He is a big star for Slovakia. And currently in the NHL, Slafkovský is actually leading all Slovakians in points in the NHL. He's got 20 points on the season. All right, I've got one more selection for you, and I promised a wild card, so technically 2. Let's get to Team Canada because this is going to obviously be a very competitive roster for any player to break onto. When it comes to the Canadiens, sure, if you look at the roster and who's available, probably the player who has the best chance of doing it would be Nick Suzuki. But that's not even really a strong given. There are a lot of guys who kind of fill the ranks and line up in the queue ahead of him. Suzuki is really going to need a strong season next year for him to be in the running and in contention to compete for Team Canada at the 2026 Winter Olympics. It's not to say he couldn't do it, and it's not to say I wouldn't be pleased to see the captain dressing for Team Canada. It would be very exciting. It'd be a great experience for him. I just think that he's got a lot of work to do in order to earn a spot. And hey, don't forget, if you're enjoying content like this, tap that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the like button too. Okay, I promised a wild card, so I've got a wild card for you, and it also involves Team Canada. It involves a player who we haven't really had a chance to truly evaluate yet, and has the potential to maybe even surpass Nick Suzuki if he gets healthy, stays healthy, and makes the leap into the next kind of phase of what he's able to do at the NHL, like everyone was hoping and had their fingers crossed that he would do. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Alex Newhook. Newhook is back, fully practicing with the team. He traveled with them to Washington earlier this week, and all eyes are going to be on Alex Newhook and this second half of the season to see how quickly he can bounce back from being out with his injury for so long. And then as we move into next season, it's going to be a case of, can Alex Newhook finally become the player that Kent Hughes was hoping he would become for the Canadiens when he brought him to Montreal? But because of the injury, things got stalled and completely came to a grinding halt in terms of determining whether a change of scenery from Colorado is what Alex Newhook would need. But if he bounces back strongly and comes in and has a healthy and solid season in 2024-2025, who knows? He could be competing for a spot on Team Canada. And don't forget, we can look beyond the NHL for some of the potential players that will fill those rosters, because keep in mind, there are some countries who have very small representation in the NHL, and so they'll be looking to fill their rosters with guys who are playing in European leagues or even guys playing in the AHL. When you look at Laval, you think maybe guys like Emil Heineman, Lias Andersson, Jan Mysak even. Can any of those guys maybe over the course of the next year and a half put themselves in a position that their national teams might consider them for the Olympics? Well, I'll tell you what, right now, those guys are really helping the Laval Rocket shake off what was a horrible start to the season and have put themselves right in the running for a playoff position. But boy, oh boy, I tell you what, Laval is in a tight spot right now. And I explained everything about what's at stake for them coming up in this month and even this weekend in the latest episode of Rocket Hockey Report, which, if you missed it, you can check it out right here. And I'll see you next time.